think about that for next year.
Yeah. Nice. Here we go. 62 waiting.
Mm.
All right.
Yeah, we were pulling like,
Good.
looks like,
What's that?
we were at a couple hundred last year.
That thing, if you go back and look at our Facebook and YouTube, we have over 3,000 views on that deal thing.
Oh, yeah, stuff notification on my phone.
Just to listen to us talk, and I said, man, we're on to something.
G, I said there, I still have phone signal.
Can you tell Josh to also just text everybody the seating, like after he gets it, if that's possible? Just because, like, you might miss him saying it. There were a couple times last year where I was sitting there. It's just like, okay, I need him to say it again because I feel like I missed it.
Oh, you talking about those guys?
Yeah, for them.
Hopefully he doesn't think to text us up here. My picking up that.
Main story, him and text group anyway. Sounds like trash is gonna be out for the Christmas tournament.
That's what Josh said.
And that's going to pick me up well if I'm sitting here talking toward that screen. That's got me.
Life can be a little hectic when you're always in motion. Don't you wish you had a bank that could keep up? First State Community Bank's digital banking is the perfect companion for your fast-paced everyday life. Whether you're looking to review your full financial picture or just wanted a quick glance at your balance, First State Community Bank keeps you connected to your finances, all while juggling your daily activities. Download the app today and bank in motion with First State Community Bank's digital banking.
At SEMO Health Network, we strive to provide caring and affordable health care while making our patients feel welcome in our warm and friendly atmosphere. With locations throughout Southeast Missouri, we provide medical, dental, OB, and behavioral health services to anyone and everyone that may need it. Visit SEMO Health Network for your wellness exams, COVID and flu vaccinations, lab services, dental exams, counseling, and more. For more information, visit our website and let SEMO Health Network take care of you.
Life can be a little hectic when you're always in motion. Don't you wish you had a bank that could keep up? First State Community Bank's digital banking is the perfect companion for your fast-paced everyday life. Whether you're looking to review your full financial picture or just wanted a quick glance at your balance, First State Community Bank keeps you connected to your finances, all while juggling your daily activities. Download the app today and bank in motion with First State Community Bank's digital banking.
Do you need personalized merchandise? Trying to celebrate the season of that big state run? Then Juju Promotions in New Madrid has you covered. Whether it's heat presses, screen printing, or embroidery, we always have an option that will leave you satisfied and looking your best. With seasonal styles and plenty of accessories, there's something here for everyone. So come in and shop around. You'll be welcome with a smile and leave more fashionable than ever. Call us at 573-748-4040 or visit us in New Madrid.
Agriculture is not a fad, and it's not for the faint of heart. Long days become long nights, sacrificing time away from your family, even on weekends, just so you can get the crop in and get the crop out. This is your way of life. At Farm Credit Southeast Missouri, we are 100% bought into your commitment. Because we are customer-owned, it is our mission to be your ag lender, and we intend to be your value-added partner for next year and the long term.
Your ag lender will always be there. My name is Kevin Rossville. I'm a farmer from Prairie County, Arkansas. Been farming since 1991. Started farming with my father-in-law when I got married. We've been raising rice ever since. We've all been looking for something for a change for years. And I think this 263L is going to be the next and up and coming thing for us. It's really going to work well on a lot of different ground and a lot of different farms around here.
Dynagrow 263L, available exclusively at Nutrient Ag Solutions.
We do things the right way, we do it honestly, and we do it well. We go to trial with confidence that in Southeast Missouri, when we work hard and we do a good job of presenting the case to the jury like we know we can do, justice will be done and the client will be taken care of. If you need someone to represent you at trial, call Cook Barquette, Ponder & Waltz.
Ladies and gentlemen, we welcome you to the 2024 Bloomfield Christmas Tournament Seating Show. Second time that we'll be releasing the seats to you, and for the 19th time, the beginning of our coverage, Tip the Trophy right here on A-Corp Sports. I'm Joe Northern. I'll be joined with the panel in just a moment of Jim Riker, Bobby Alford, Andrew Moore, and David Jenkins. There's really two words to define this Christmas tournament at Bloomfield. It's tradition and change. Yes, 68 years, an awfully long time for a tournament that has been known for quality basketball in this area, and more so, a competitive atmosphere that cannot be matched anywhere across the Mid-South or even in the country, of that matter. But another word that I define this tournament is the word of change. Now, with the tournament being 68 years old and its current double elimination format, it's really been only the case for 35 years in double elimination. And the team that won it the first time in double elimination was the Puxico Indians. They're a team rumored to maybe have that number one spot in the tournament seeds by the time we're completed today, but other teams looking to try to go for that spot too, including East Prairie, Dexter, and Kennett, based off their performances last week in the SEMO Conference Tournament. But another word to define it is change as well, with some of the teams that have been shifting into the field of 16, of which two teams will be making one will be making their return, one will be making their debut in this 2024 edition, as the Risco Tigers will be a new entrant into the field of 16, and for the first time since 2009, the East Carter Redbirds will be returning to the field at Bloomfield as well. So again, a tournament that has so many exciting moments, potentially a few upsets that we've seen along the way as well, and just quite simply a tournament that brings everybody together for 4 nights a year. Now, you might be asking, why am I going to be here? Well, I'm going to be seating the table to our guys coming up in just a moment because, first off, you will be hearing way too much of me in the arena to begin with coming up on the 26th. And secondly, I don't think it's my time or place to announce the seeds, but give it to the guys who will be with you throughout most of the way here on A-Corp Sports to break down the seeds as well as they know how. So, of course, as the seeds will be coming in, one of our coordinators in Bloomfield, Josh I, will be releasing the seeds to us, and once we have those seeds, we will send those out directly to you. And at the end of the show, we'll tell you the best ways to tune in and get you the official schedule for all the action right here on A-Corp Sports. But when we come back, we'll toss it to Jim, Bobby, Andrew, and Dave for the release of the 16 seeds. Enjoy the action here on A-Corp Sports.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Bloomfield Christmas Tournament Seating Show here on A-Corp Sports. I'm Jim Riker, and we're excited to have you with us this morning. Our panel today consists of Andrew Moore, David Jenkins, and Bobby Alford, and we'll hear from each of them as we go through the morning, as we look at all the seedings that will come to you from Bloomfield. We'll also look at some first round and later matchups as well. Andrew, we'll start with you. Tell us a little bit, of course, you guys do the podcast. Tell us a little bit about that and just what you think about the Bloomfield Christmas Tournament.
Yeah, Andrew Moore from SEMO Sports Zone. With me is Dave, as always. So for me, I've been working production for this tournament for about 4 years now, and every year it's probably the biggest event that we cover. And I think it's just, it's really great basketball to see. It's really great to see all these towns come together and just really focus on that competition for a week. And so to bring in the holiday season, I mean, it's probably the most fun time of year, I would say.
David?
Yeah, I mean, I've been going to this tournament since 1984. I mean, kind of it ages me a little bit, but it's been it's always been the ride of Christmas. I mean, it just shows you the basketball season's here, Christmas season's here, and it's always a fun time, and I'm just happy to be a part of it.
Bobby?
I think this tournament is the best venue in maybe all the state of Missouri. I mean, that gym, when it gets packed on Thursday and Friday night, you will not find a better place to be in all of Missouri. I mean, I love the atmosphere, I love the energy. And we saw last year, you think of Dexter and Bernie because they've been in so many finals right there. They didn't have to be there for that place to be packed. And I think we hit close to 20,000 views on YouTube one night. And that was in East Prairie Malden. It's just two small schools that brought that big of an attraction and crowd. I'm telling you, it is the best place to be. If you've never been, come to it, but I'm sure most all of our listeners have. But to be inside that gym is just an amazing feeling.
Yeah, and I think also this year in particular, probably the parity is such that we all were talking beforehand. It's amazing that there are 8 or 9 teams who really have a legitimate chance to probably win this thing. And on the other side of the bracket, even if you get in that consolation bracket, the rest of those teams have a chance probably to win that consolation prize. So, guys, I think it's going to be one of the more fun tournaments we've probably had.
Interesting to know, we was talking earlier, you said 1 through 8 or 9. Our data says that's not the case. If you don't rank in the 1 through 5, David, is what you had. If you're not a 1 through 5 seed, your chances go down tremendously in this.
The tournament, the tournament's been won by a 1 through 6 seed. It's never been won by a 7 seed or below. So you want to get one of those top 6 seeds, and that's going to be the kind of the litmus, I think, for everyone. You want to get in those top 6 seeds because history shows if you're a 7, 8, or 9, you don't typically win the tournament.
Yeah, and only one time, you mentioned to us earlier, only one time I think a number 1 seed is lost. Is that right?
Yeah,
in the opening round.
In the opening round.
Yeah, in the opening
yes.
round. Yeah, only one time is a 1 seed lost. 1984, Poplar Bluff lost to Puxico, and back then they didn't even seed the 1 through 16. They just seeded 1 through 8. So it's just it's very seldom does a 16 seed ever really play a 1 seed kind of close, really.
And, of course, we've got a couple new additions this year. Risco, and I think you said 1958 was the last time?
59.
59 was the last time that Risco was in this tournament?
Yeah,
They'll be a great addition.
Yeah, Risco played 58 and 59, and they're really excited about being back in this tournament this year, and it'll be a lot of fun to see them here.
Yeah, first look at the BCT in, over half a century.
Right.
So what are you going to bring to it now?
Right. That'll be a big deal. And, of course, East Carter, first time since 2009, and I know they're glad to probably be back, and they'll add a nice touch to this as well. So it's going to be an interesting tournament. If you guys are out there watching, any of you teams that maybe are watching us right now, feel free to post on our Facebook page or on our YouTube page. Tell us that you're watching, maybe some pictures or whatever, because this is a big thing for these small towns. This is a huge tournament, a lot of following, and guys, it really gives them the opportunity to sort of showcase who they are.
I think so, and they showcase who they are, to get together as a team to celebrate this deal. But look, when we talk about who can win this and who's not, it's the way you seed in this deal. I don't know that those numbers are going to hold true, what we talk about, who wins and who loses, because we said it last year, it's the most open tournament we've ever seen. I think, again, this year, who knows, how much does a 3 seed and a 10 seed differ? Because I can tell you, in my seedings I had earlier this week, before everything changed, I had Dexter 3, Kennett 10. And then Dexter only beat him with 3 points. But now Kennett's won some games and some things changed in there. So is Kennett a 10 and can they still win it? Or is Kennett a 4 or 5 right there? I think it really changes things up.
Well, like you all said, it's the discussion of parity at this point, that these teams are playing so close, but it's also so early in the season. We usually get more of a litmus test that we know what these seedings are and we know who's going to be seated where. But at this point, it's kind of up in the air for a lot of spots. Whether Dexter is higher seeded, whether Kennett's right below them, we still don't even know that. I mean, it could be a complete mix-up.
And that's the point difference. I mean, when a 3 seed, possibly, and a 10 seed, in my mind, it was 3 point difference in a game. I mean,
yeah, I think there's going to be some really tough matchups in the quarterfinals this year. I mean, there's going to be we don't even know the seeds, but I mean, just without even knowing them, you just know that there's going to be some tough quarterfinal games this year, just because the teams are so kind of even this year.
And I think that's one of the beauties of the Bloomfield Christmas Tournament, even over maybe the Cape Christmas Tournament. Cape, you pretty much know who your top 4 seeds are going to be year round. It's going to be Notre Dame. It's going to be Cape Central. It's going to be Jackson. It's going to be Charleston. There may be a team sneak in up there this year, Scott City or Woodland, but typically it's that. Here, year in, year out, I mean, last year your champion was Malden, and they certainly will be in the bottom 8 seeds this year. So I mean, it just from year to year it changes so much here. So many different teams have the opportunity. I think that's what makes another thing that makes this so special. So we're waiting for the coaches to give us our first seed, and we're certainly looking forward to that. I tell you what, we'll take about a 30-second break. The panel will be back with a little more discussion, and then we'll have our seeds here on the Bloomfield Christmas Tournament Seeding Show.
Life can be a little hectic when you're always in motion. Don't you wish you had a bank that could keep up? First State Community Bank's digital banking is the perfect companion for your fast-paced everyday life. Whether you're looking to review your full financial picture or just wanted a quick glance at your balance, First State Community Bank keeps you connected to your finances, all while juggling your daily activities. Download the app today and bank in motion with First State Community Bank's digital banking.
Agriculture is not a fad, and it's not for the faint of heart. Long days become long nights, sacrificing time away from your family, even on weekends, just so you can get the crop in and get the crop out. This is your way of life. At Farm Credit Southeast Missouri, we are 100% bought into your commitment. Because we are customer-owned, it is our mission to be your ag lender, and we intend to be your value-added partner for next year and the long term.
Your ag lender will always be there.
We do things the right way, we do it honestly, and we do it well. We go to trial with confidence that in Southeast Missouri, when we work hard and we do a good job of presenting the case to the jury like we know we can do, justice will be done and the client will be taken care of. If you need someone to represent you at trial, call Cook Barquette, Ponder & Walls.
We are back at the Bloomfield Christmas Tournament seating show here on A Corp Sports. Jim Riker, Andrew Moore, David Jenkins, Bobby Alford with you. And guys, let's talk a little bit as we're waiting for the coaches to get the voting started up at Bloomfield. Let's talk about who maybe that team is that you think may not be seeded, one or two, but with your heart you think maybe they can make a run. David, let's start with you.
For me, maybe Van Buren. They kind of fly under everybody's radar. They made a good run last year. First time they've ever finished, fourth place or higher. They finished fourth, and they got a lot back this year. They played a really good Woodland team to the wire this year earlier. I think they're really good, and I think they're kind of going to slip under some radars.
All right. Andrew?
Yeah, for me, it's always been the Twin Rivers Royals. I usually take them as my pick every year. This year, it was going to be the Hayti Indians, but now, give me the Bernie Mules.
Okay, and why?
They're really scrappy. When they play a really good game, we saw it against Risco, they play an amazing game. Defense, offense, they can run the boards. Once they get popping, they're my team.
All right, and Bobby?
There's a lot of them. It's hard to choose from. I'm going to go with Richland. I don't know the last time they won this thing. That team has played really good basketball last year, and you want to see them to get together this year and play better, but your heart goes for an underdog team like that. They're a small town, generally do not see success in this tournament than they did last year. Your heart kind of pulls for a team like that who you see a lot of talent on there, and this may be their chance to win it. You kind of say, boy, I'd like to see them win it. East Prairie's another one just like that. Having a chance to win this tournament as a smaller town that generally doesn't seed well or perform well in it, you pull for those teams inside of you.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I would agree with all three of you guys. I probably would look at Risco. I sort of fell for them last year. First time I had really seen them much or been in their gym, and I mean, they play the game the right way. They play hard. They shoot the ball well. I think they've got a real good opportunity to do well there in the tournament. And they've got one of the showcase players in the tournament, and Sammy Smith. He'll be a dandy. Anybody else that comes to mind, just a player that stands out to you that you've watched so far?
Oh man, I don't know. You guys know better than I would at this point.
Oh, I mean, there's a lot of good players in this tournament coming back from. I mean, you look at East Prairie; they've got three guys that are really good players, and Noah Johnson, and Connor Markham, and I can't remember the other guys. I always forget his name, but I think it's Ty Wallace. Ty Wallace. And but man, they're all three really good players, and those three guys are going to be tough to watch or tough to handle. And then for you were talking about Richland, you've got Hunter Sanders, which I really like. He's a good player.
That Richland team's filled with.
Oh, they are.
And I don't want to give away too much as we get into breaking down these teams, but they got 4 kids on that team who can legit score every night. It's just a matter of fact of which one you want to pick. Boy, there's a lot of good players in this deal. I think probably the kid that's going to be seen a lot, talked about a lot because they're going to seed well, is going to be Landon Burchard of Puxico. That kid can flat out play, guys. Sammy Smith, you talk about, he'll be another one. He's going to score a lot of points in this tournament. There's just a lot of kids to pick from in this tournament who's going to play well, I think.
And for Van Buren, Elijah Van Wagner's coming back, and he was all-tournament team last year.
Yeah, he's a good one as well. I agree. So, lots of just we go back to such a parity in this. Anybody that you think possibly, I know we're a little early and we don't want to, like Bobby said, give away too much. Anybody that you think would people wouldn't think about that may really make a run?
Who make a run? I'm going with the Bernie Mules on that deal. Look, this is a young team, but they've had some good games. They've played well. I think there's a game against Campbell, they shot 68%. Right. If you get hot in this tournament and have a game like that in the second round or third round, it propels you. Ernie is a team to watch because they shoot the three so well, and Acock's rebounding well down there, down low. They didn't have size last year.
They didn't have a lot of team cohesion last year either. And that's something you can really see from right now, especially from that Risco game. They're really starting to just meld with each other. And I think going forward, like you said, young team, if you can start, being on that same wavelength, you've really got something to work with there.
I'm going to say Kennett. I mean, they in the SEMO Conference tournament, they were a team that they were down, multiple times by double figures in different games, and they just kept fighting back. Dyson Watson is a heck of a player. He's going to be really tough to handle for anybody in this tournament. And, they've got a lot of guys that can kind of fill in the gaps there with him. So I think Kennett's a team that, and they always play well here, and Seth McBroom does a great job with them. So I think they're a team that could make a run here.
All right, so we're getting close to our first pick, I think, and we'll take. I tell you what, let's take a 30-second break. We'll come back with our first pick and start to analyze those here on the Bloomfield Christmas Tournament Seating Show.
Life can be a little hectic when you're always in motion. Don't you wish you had a bank that could keep up? First State Community Bank's digital banking is the perfect companion for your fast-paced everyday life. Whether you're looking to review your full financial picture or just wanted a quick glance at your balance, First State Community Bank keeps you connected to your finances, all while juggling your daily activities. Download the app today and bank in motion with First State Community Bank's digital banking.
Welcome back to the Bloomfield Christmas Tournament Seeding Show. We have our first seed in from the coaches' picks, and the number one seed this year for the Christmas Tournament, second year in a row, the Puxico Indians. They're coached by Brian Fernetti. They're in the Stoddard County and the Ozark Foothills Conference. They're Class 2 District 3. 5-0 so far in the season, and their first big win was against Chadwick, against the defending state Class 1 state champions. Last year, they were upset by number 4 seed Malden in the semifinals. They defeated Van Buren in the third-place game. Jed Hancock and Landon Burchard return with that. They've had 2 championship appearances, 1 championship back in 1989. And we'll start with you, Bobby. Give us your thoughts on the Indians.
For the Indians, this is a team that has it all. They can shoot, they can play inside, they can shoot inside, outside. They can press if they want to. They can play man. They can play zone. I'll tell you, they're just a team who is really complete. And, when I look at it, I think they have the most underappreciated player in this tournament, and that's Cason Long. I mean, is that the guy you think of first for the Indians? Probably not. But he can shoot inside. He rebounds. He plays defense. He's not the guy that leads them in the stats every night, but I'm telling you, he is one of my favorite players in this tournament. They played so well in this tournament, and they shoot the ball so well. Last year, I thought, though, they got in trouble at times playing zone when they needed to play man in the season, and that hurt them. But the one thing can't do without, and that's Skylar Zimmerman. I said it last year. I'll say it again this year. He's the one person on this team who is irreplaceable for Puxico, David.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned Cason Long. I've got him written down right here. I mean, he's someone who does so many things for them. And they're such a good team. They're trying to get back to the finals for the first time since '89. I remember, I'm sure a lot of people from Puxico remember Sean Hazel hitting a little shot at the buzzer to beat Malden that year. And I think they kind of want that same kind of magic this year. It's the same kind of team. That '89-90 team from Puxico had a lot of publicity around them. They were a high seed in this tournament, and this team has a lot of that feel to it. They're a team that can get up and down, score a lot of points, guard well. And it's very similar to that team, that was in '89. So you kind of look for them to make a little run here.
Andrew, any thoughts on them?
Yeah, I think nobody's really surprised by Puxico taking the number 1 seed in this tournament. That was kind of the talk around town, so to speak. We discussed maybe there were some possibilities that another team was going to get the first seed, but I think that win against Chadwick, especially, I think that kind of solidified their position. And coming off of last year losing to South Penn the way they did, I think this team has been hungry just to keep rolling at this point.
Yeah, and I think they're very deep as well. They bring 4 or 5 guys off the bench who can play well, and their pressure defense is going to create a lot of issues for people. So they are, the Puxico Indians, the number 1 seed.
And I think, too, when you look at that team, everybody returns from last year. basically everybody on that team returns. How do you not make the team who won one seed last year not the one seed this year when everybody returns?
Right.
Yeah, there's no reason not to. So just to kind of move on, let's talk about our number 2 seed. Number 2 on the board is the East Prairie Eagles, coached by Gary Scott, Mississippi Conference, 3-0 on the season. What are we thinking, boys?
East Prairie's a good team. I just mentioned it earlier. They've got 3 really good players in Noah Johnson, Connor Markham, and Ty Wallace. They made the final last year. I mean, there's no reason, with most of their players back again this year, there's no reason to think they couldn't make a run again. I mean, they like to get up and down the floor, really get after you offensively, put a lot of pressure on you, and try to force turnovers, get some easy baskets, and this is a team that's hungry, and I know that they're really looking to make a run this year.
Yeah, this is a team who has great size and scores out top. They've got a good, well-rounded team, and they're going to give teams fits in their full court press. And I think the length of Noah Johnson. I mean, he is a kid to watch in this tournament. Look, coaches lay in bed at night and wake up in cold sweats because of this kid. I mean, he is just an athlete and a half out there, and he's 6'7". He's the one that's going to give people fits. But remember, this is also a team who gave up 72 points to a Gideon team. That's a worry for them. Coming into this tournament, people need to take notice. There's things that happen, teams that pass and cut well. I think you find holes in this defense of East Prairie. That's their weak length, I think, and maybe depth.
I would debate, too, just off of that point. This is a team that's also coming off of football season. And we've said it several times on broadcast that, that changes the way that you play basketball at the start of the season, especially. All these schools coming in without football, they're already getting primed for the basketball season. So you're right, that defense needs to be shored up, cleaned up, everything like that. But at the same time, you can't really expect them to be perfect at the very start of the season.
Yeah, and I think that East Prairie's not, some teams are not as concerned about defense because they are so triggered on their offense, and they're gonna beat you 85-70, not 45-38 or something, So I think they don't mind doing that and moving that away. They start 4 seniors. They're very experienced, so that's going to carry them a long way in this tournament as well, I think.
And keep in mind, Bobby, they also played Hayti and held them to a lower point schedule than they did Gideon. So,
and I think that's where foul trouble comes into play for them. You got to get deeper into that bench. I don't know if they got in foul trouble that game, but they just didn't shore up some things I thought they should have in that game against Gideon. But hey, Noah Johnson didn't play football either, and that boy is on top of his game.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've got our number 3 seed now, and it is going to be the Dexter Bearcats, coached by Chad Allen in both the SEMO Conference and the Stoddard County Conference, Class 4 District 1. They're 3-2 in the season, wins over Malden, Charleston, and Kennett, and then losses this week in the SEMO Conference Tournament to Sykeston and to Poplar Bluff. Last year they were the number 5 seed, went out on day 3, which is a little unusual for Dexter in this tournament. They have 14 Bloomfield Christmas Tournament championships, but it's been a while since they've won one. And so Dexter, with their 3-2 record, and I guess the SEMO Conference carries a lot of weight, obviously, for them to get the number 3 seed.
Well, it carries a lot of weight. They got a big win over Charleston, who is seated ahead of them at the conference. But for Dexter, it's an interesting team. They rely on that 3-ball a lot to carry them. When they go cold there, they can struggle a little bit in the offensive flow. And ball handling, ball handling for Dexter is a problem at all times. They're starting a sophomore at point guard, and that's a tough ask of a sophomore. He was playing JV ball last year and he was even hurt. And then you said, hey, go run my team's offense and take care of the ball. I'm not saying that he can't, but I'm saying it's a big ask. With that being said, ball handling is a pressure for everybody on the team. I would press this team all night long. I'm going to play up in your face. I'm not going to let you I'm not going to play a zone and let you start shooting threes against me. This is a team right here that I think can get bounced early if people play them the right way. But if not, and Dexter gets hot, a kid like Sapavado can carry them to the championship night.
I agree that, ball handling is a big key for them, and matchups are going to be a big key for Dexter in this tournament. A team that can really put a lot of ball pressure on the guards, I think that's going to be a team that's going to give them problems. At the same thing, Dexter guards very well. I think that Coach Allen always has them defending well. That 1-2-2 is always kind of tough for teams. And then he's been getting after him man-to-man as well this year. I think that defensively, I think Dexter's going to be a handful for anybody they play. And some of these teams haven't seen some defense like Dexter plays. So and they're tested in the SEMO conference. So I think they can do well, but I think a lot of it just depends on matchups.
Let's talk about the physical presence of Turnbow too. As far as talking about a football player coming on the basketball court, he can just maneuver. And the way he takes it to the paint, the way he can defend too, I think that's really going to make a statement for Dexter this year, something they were missing last year.
I think the tough deal there, though, Turnbow's 6'1", and you got some John Acox, you've got some Noah Johnsons, you've got some Skylar Simmons in this tournament that are bigger than him. That's going to be a problem for Dexter.
Yeah, I think for Dexter, it really sort of hinges on pace of play. Can they control the pace of play and keep a game slow? If they get into a running match with any of these teams, I think they're in trouble. And they also sort of have fallen in love with the three ball a little bit I've watched them, and if they shoot it well, they'll do great. But if they have a cold night, it's going to be a tough night for them, I'm afraid.
Well, our number 4 seed's in, and let's talk about that team that's really close to Dexter, Bernie Mules, coached by Jason Long. Starter County Conference, Class 2, District 3, 2-1 on the season. Just took down the Risco Tigers, but lost the Campbells. What's our thoughts on Bernie?
I think Bernie is a good team. I mean, they're very well coached. They're always going to be well coached with Coach Long. They're a team that really can get after you defensively. They're going to try to control the pace as well. The thing with them is if they are hot from three, they're going to be a tough team to beat. But can they stay hot all 4 games in the tournament? I think that's the biggest thing. I mean, your legs are kind of going to go, as you get into night 3 and 4. I mean, that's a lot of basketball that you've been playing. So, I think, Bernie's got some really good players. Kane Hobgood, when he gets hot from 3, he's really tough. He's very streaky and can, fill it up in a hurry. But I think, Bernie has a really good shot to make a run here, but I think it all depends on their shooting and how hot they can stay.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you guys, I think they're seeded too high. I don't think they're a 4 seed right now. As a young group right here, I think there's some teams that probably look at that deal and say, man, if I'm a lower seed, I got them. But pretender or contender, as a pretender or contender, I've got them contender. I think they can make some runs. I just don't think they're a 4 seed right now in my eyes. But coaches say differently, and they analyze these teams to know best maybe. But they have added size with a cock down low that has been big for their defense and rebounding. Now, they didn't have any size last year, and they couldn't rebound, couldn't play defense very well to protect the rim. They do have that, and you're right. Perimeter shooting. Hobgood, Geiling, they've got several goods that can light it up. But I'm going to tell you the reason I don't think they're a 4 seed, they shot 68%, somebody told me earlier, in that game against Risco.
Right.
That's their biggest win on their schedule, I believe, 68% against a Risco team. How many teams are going to shoot at 68%?
Yeah, not very often. And that's the thing, that the only thing I have against Bernie really is the fact that they are they did shoot 68% one game, but the rest of the time, when you look at the way they've scored, they haven't really scored that much. They're only averaging 57 points a game. They're giving up 58 a game. That's not a recipe for success, So I do think they can play well. I think they can, maybe get to the final night, but I think they've got a little work to do to get there. And they're young. Let's remember that. You're still playing a bunch of sophomores on that group, and that'll be, that's tough once you get into that big stage of the Bloomfield Christmas Tournament.
Well, that's a good thing about this tournament, too, is that we get to see them play more, and it's also in a condensed time. We're not waiting to watch them play again.
Right.
And one of my notes, Jim, on my deals for Bernie was pressure the ball because they're a young team, make them turn it over. I think you can pressure a sophomore point guard and some younger kids and get turnovers out of that situation. Very key to beating Bernie's pressure.
All right. So let's go on to our number 5 seed, and that is going to be the Kennett Indians. They're coached by Cole McBroom. It's his first year at Kennett. They're in the SEMO Conference, of course, Class 4, District 1. 2-4 on the season. They've beaten Zenith Hornsville, and they beat Charleston. They lost to Mountain Grove, South Pim, Dexter, and New Madrid County Central. They were the number 3 seed last year. And, guys, they, those losses they've got to pretty good teams. South Pim, Dexter, and New Madrid County Central, who is getting better every game and is very athletic. So, Bobby, give us your thoughts on Kennett.
Again, earlier when we first did these seedings about 2 weeks ago, we had a piece of paper sent out to us. I had Kennett as a 10 seed, and now look, I mean, they are a viable 5 seed, I believe. I mean, this team has played well. Look, Dyson Watson is a real deal, guys. I told Jim on the way down today, he is very much like an Allen Iverson shooter. He'll still shoot. He's going to make plays. He never loses confidence in himself. Dyson Watson is a tough kid out there on the floor to guard. And then when you try to collapse that middle against him, he could dish it out to Gilmore. Gilmore can pop it from deep as well as anybody in this tournament. You cannot leave that kid open. But it's still a team trying to reestablish themselves. Have been down comparatively. Coach McBroom has them playing hard, but we'll see if I can carry them in this tournament, David.
Yeah, I mean, and it definitely has them playing hard. I mean, like I said earlier, I mean, they were down double digits in every game in the SEMO Conference tournament and never went away. They just continued to get after it. They came back and tied Dexter late in the fourth quarter. They ended up coming back and beating Charleston, and they made a run there against New Madrid County Central. And they're a team that just will not quit. So, and they're a team that plays very physical. And some of these teams, some of these smaller schools aren't used to playing the physical kind of basketball that Kennett plays. And that could be an issue too. You know, Kennett always does well in this tournament. Coach McBroom has them playing very well right now. And like you said, Dyson Watson, he's a favorite of mine. I mean, he just put on a show in the SEMO Conference, and I think he's going to do the same at the Bloomfield Christmas Tournament.
Yeah, you said they were down in that game. I remember watching that game at home. And at 3:36 in the fourth quarter, down 12. And they come back and tie that game, had a chance to win it.
Yeah, they did. And they just don't quit. They just continue to come after you. And that's a sign of number one, a well-coached team. But they've bought into everything Coach McBroom has brought to them this year. And they're going to be a tough team in this tournament.
You notice, too, that, for Coach McBroom, like, he's not afraid to change up offense and defense to fit schemes. Obviously, against New Madrid, anytime he found something that kind of gave them fits a little bit, he would attack that point, shape it up, bring it back in maybe in the next half. But I don't feel like you can count Kennett out of a game unless you're 20 points over them in the latter half of the fourth, because they're just a comeback team at this point.
I think the other thing I've really liked about them was they have gotten better every game, it seems like to me. You know, they're buying into Coach McBroom's system, and they're getting better and better, and that bodes well for them, I think, in this tournament. You know, it should be a really good matchup for them.
So, kind of unsurprisingly, let's talk about our number 6 pick, Risco Tigers. That loss to Bernie, I think, is what kind of sequestered them behind this Bernie squad in the number 6 seed. But at the same time, we talked about that upper echelon of 6 up. And with Risco being there, there's every chance that they have to win this tournament.
Yeah, Risco, they're well coached with Brandon Blankenship, and I just absolutely love seeing them in this tournament. I know that they've wanted to get in this tournament for a long time, and they've got probably one of the best players in the tournament in Sammy Smith. He's just somebody who can really fill up the scoreboard. But, they've got a lot of other players too, Landon Baker, Owen Fortner, Eli Rogers, a lot of guys that can really get after it, and they're going to be a tough out for anybody in this tournament. I like the style they play, and they're going to be excited. I think they're going to bring a lot of fans. I think they're going to bring a lot of excitement to this tournament this year. And I don't know about you, but I love seeing them in this tournament.
They're a great addition to this tournament. This team, as good as they are this year, man, I'm telling you, people are going to be put on notice by Risco. They're a fantastic team, but I think they're a transition team. Everybody thinks, that, they shot the three so well last year. No, they're a transition team. They want to get out and run. And once Sammy Smith comes off that floor, if he's in foul trouble or takes a break, watch how that team changes. They're not near the same team on the floor without Sammy. They've got to find a way to stay aggressive and push the floor and push the issue during games, get out and run. I mean, that's the key for them, defense and rebounding. When they get a good rebound and kick it out and get up the floor or get a steal, they're in transition again. They make points off that very easily. Team full of talent. My question against them, though, you remember what happened to Richland last year in the districts? Once they started stacking against tougher teams for prolonged periods, they got bounced.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think the key to Risco in this tournament, Smith's going to get his points. I think Fortner and Riley Calvert inside are really keys. You mentioned rebounding. I think they've got to find a way to be able to rebound well against these bigger teams. And can they do that? I don't know. We'll have to see that. But they're going to have to play stronger and deeper inside because they can't shoot the basketball. There's no question about that. And they can get up and down the floor. But they're going to have to keep teams off the boards defensively to give them the chance to get that run out like you're talking about.
Well, I think the expectation for Risco was that they were going to come back just as strong as they were to finish off last year. I think they're starting off a little bit slower than everybody was expecting them to, but I don't think that's a bad thing. Take this 6 pick. Like, you're relatively sliding into that upper tier, but you're still kind of a sleeper. And I think that's something you can rest on and just kind of let that ruminate for your team. Make improvements where you need to. But right now, you're not the 1 seed. You're not expected to just outright win the tournament right now.
Right. Absolutely right. So let's go on to our number 7 pick, and that is going to be the Van Buren Bulldogs, coached by Jacob Black. They're in the Big Springs Conference, 2-2 in the season with wins over Delta and Eminence and losses to Harrisburg and a good Woodland team. Last year, they were 4th in the Bloomfield Christmas Tournament. They came in as the 6th seed. They return, as Andrew mentioned earlier, senior Elijah Van Wagner, who was an all-tournament team last year, and an interesting team, I think, and maybe a sleeper here in this tournament.
I believe so. Look, a team coached by Jacob Black, after last year, the win he pulled off coming back against Kennett, he won me over as a fan. This team is, number one, I think, that they've got a bunch of kids returning that are coachable. The other thing I said about them was they listen well and are disciplined. And when you put a team together like that on the floor, they can beat anybody in this tournament because they play so well as a group and their coach can lead them to a win. I remember the statement I made on air last year in that game. They didn't shoot themselves out of the game when they were down like 18 or so. They kept themselves in it because they wasn't firing up threes, wasn't doing stupid things with the basketball. I think this is a very, very dangerous team in this tournament. And I think they handle traps and presses well. I've watched them over in the tournament over there at Van Buren earlier this year. They played well with that. And when you handle the traps and presses well, how do you start to play a team at that point? Not a great size team down low. They're going to struggle in that area rebounding. But, hey, if you knock down shots, you ain't got to worry about that part of it.
That's right. Like I said earlier, this is kind of my sleeper team. And Elijah Van Wagner, he's only 6'1", but he plays a lot bigger than 6'1". He's somebody who really, will bang around inside, plays a lot bigger. And they've got good guard play, like you said. It's been, they're just a team that kind of flies under the radar. They don't play a lot of teams from around here that we see, and so we don't see them a lot. But I think they're a team that's, they impressed me last year as well. And, pretty much everybody back off that team. And I think that they're a team that's kind of seasoned. They know how to win. They played some good games already this year, and I think they're a team that's ready to make a little run here, and it will be a tough out for anybody in this tournament.
See, I think to your point, that's the biggest reason why they're a sleeper each time they come into this tournament. You kind of forget about them just because they don't play any of the teams that are local to this area for the most part. And their wins this season, against Delta and Eminence, good wins, but their losses too. When you lose to like Woodland's rolling right now. So you can't really take that as the biggest knock against them. But, I think they're perfectly seated for where they're at in this tournament.
Yeah, I think they're about in the right spot, and I'm like Bobby. I love watching. They just play very solidly all the way around. So I think they're going to do well, and they'll be another one that's a tough out in this tournament probably.
Yeah, the one knock I had against them when I watched them on film, they do not block out well at all. If you don't block out, they just kind of get caught standing and watching that ball come off the rim. You got to block out. Because they're going to give up second chance points if they don't. That is a key area against them. Teams who can rebound well have a good chance of knocking them off.
Not to cut you off, Bobby, but our next seed in number 8 is the Richland Rebels. Now, that's another team that I feel like is perfectly seated where they're at. Richland has come in with a lot of expectations this season. I don't really feel like they have met them at this point. They played some good games. They played some bad games.
Yeah, they've kind of been surprising. Them losing the Oran tournament to losing to Bell City, that was kind of a surprise to everybody. They returned everybody from last year. You've got Tucker Hughes, Gary Tilley, Hunter Sanders, Eric Williams. They return a lot of talent from last year, but it just seems like they have not gotten in sync offensively this year. So their seed kind of dropped, I think, from what a lot of people thought maybe going into the season. But they're still a tough team. They're still a team that will be tough to handle. And if they put it all together, they're a team that could make a run in this tournament. But I still think we need to see them, put it all together offensively because, offensively they are, they're just not scoring the way they were last year, Bobby.
Yeah, look, this team offensively, I had them as a 3 seed. Matter of fact, preseason coming into this, I thought they'd be a dominant team. But offensively right now, and especially when teams play them man-to-man, this team's a mess. They're slow right now moving the basketball. They're late getting passes inside of the paint if they get it in at all. Just a team, just really a mess when people play them man-to-man. I don't think you can play them a zone because they can shoot it. Tilley and Hunter Sanders can shoot the 3 very well. Just not a team you want to get into a situation like that. But they got to pick it up on offense. They're very stale and almost just boring in that sense. And this team, look, has a team full of kids who can score, and I think that's almost working against them because kids are now looking for points. They got to get the mentality, share the basketball. Share the basketball, and we all score and we all win. They should be putting 75 points a night up, I think, and they're struggling to get to 55 maybe.
Yeah, I agree with that. And, Coach Klein's trying to integrate Sean Cole, the freshman, into the rotation a little bit, I think, to try to pick up a little speed and maybe get some things going there. But I mean, and I think they'd be the first to tell you they're struggling offensively as well. But if they get hot, like you guys all said, they could, make a run here in this tournament, I think. So we'll see. So our first 8 seeds will go like this. It's the Puxico Indians 1, East Prairie Eagles 2, number 3, the Dexter Bearcats, number 4, the Bernie Mules, the number 5 seed is the Kennett Indians, number 6 is the Risco Tigers, number 7, the Van Buren Bulldogs, and number 8, the Richland Rebels. And we'll have the second half of the brackets coming up here in about 30 seconds on A-Corp Sports. We're going to take a quick break, give ourselves a chance to take a breath, and we'll be back in 30 seconds here on A-Corp Sports.
Life can be a little hectic when you're always in motion. Don't you wish you had a bank that could keep up? First State Community Bank's digital banking is the perfect companion for your fast-paced everyday life. Whether you're looking to review your full financial picture or just wanted a quick glance at your balance, First State Community Bank keeps you connected to your finances, all while juggling your daily activities. Download the app today and bank in motion with First State Community Bank's digital banking.
Agriculture is not a fad, and it's not for the faint of heart. Long days become long nights, sacrificing time away from your family, even on weekends, just so you can get the crop in and get the crop out. This is your way of life. At Farm Credit Southeast Missouri, we are 100% bought into your commitment. Because we are customer-owned, it is our mission to be your ag lender, and we intend to be your value-added partner for next year and the long term.
Your ag lender will always be there.
We are back at the Bloomfield Christmas Tournament seeding show here on A-Corp Sports. We've got our first 8 seeds out of the way, and our number 9 seed will be the Twin Rivers Royals, coached by Austin Birmingham, his first year at Twin Rivers. They're 4-2 on the season with wins over Holcomb, Bloomfield, and Malden all in this tournament. They were the number 8 seed last year. They come in as the number 9 this year. They're led by the Hester boys, Jake and Luke. And Bobby, give us your thoughts.
And that's my thoughts. I think this team has to be led by Jake and Luke Hester. Luke, the one down low, I mean, he's a big guy. He operates well, really, on that baseline. And, same season he did last year. He can't get in foul trouble. I mean, that is their kingpin down there in the paint. But Will Parker, I think, too, last night he had 21 points. He's a kicker who can shoot it deep from 3. Jake Hester as well can shoot it from outside from there. But, when I watched them on tape earlier this year down at Campbell in that tournament, they had weak passes around the perimeter. Look, you got to be stronger with the basketball. When you throw weak passes and if a team plays you man-to-man, it's going to be a turnover. Or guys even sitting in the zone are going to jump that, and they're going to knock that ball free, and it's going to be an easy layup. This team has to get stronger with the basketball.
Yeah, I agree. But they're also a team that if they kind of put that together, as the season's gone along, it seems like they've gotten better. They're a team that's already taken Bernie, who's the 4 seed, down to the wire. I mean, they're a team that's going to be they can play with anybody in this tournament. And but again, they've got to stay out of foul trouble, and they can't turn the ball over. They have to make those good passes, like you were saying. But they're a team that definitely is going to be a tough out for anybody in this tournament because they've already shown that they can play with anybody. And they're we don't know much about Coach Birmingham. He was at Zalma coming in here, but at the same time, they so far they seem to improve this year so far, and they're, like I said, they're a team that could be a tough out.
Listen, I'm not going to fall into this trap again. I'm not going to be jilted by Twin Rivers. I'm choosing Bernie. That's my team. However, I do like that they've only moved down 1 seed. And to see them succeed, if they can, great. You've got a tough matchup with Richland, though. Can you win this game? Obviously, there is potential to do it. Catch Richland on a bad night, whatever. You might move ahead. But for Twin Rivers right now, if Hester can get hot, that's what I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, and I think the Hester boys really do, as you've all said, have to carry them, and they've got some talent there. So we'll see how they play out as they get to play Richland that first round. And I think they're not past a one-round win, honestly. I think if they win the first round, that'll be it. They would go into the consolation or that fifth-place round. But I think they certainly could get that first-round win, yeah.
So let's talk about our number 10 seed. Our number 10 is the Doniphan Dons. So moving on from Twin Rivers to Doniphan, I mean, Doniphan has had somewhat success, somewhat non-success in the BCT. A couple of years back, they played Dexter for the final. Dexter obviously won that game. But overall, I mean, Doniphan's another one of those sleeper teams to me.
Yeah, Doniphan's a team that always has success here. Last year they went 0-2 in the tournament. That was the first time that they had lost 2 games in the tournament, back to back like that to start the tournament since 2013. I mean, typically they're in that third and fourth night. They're a team that typically plays well in this tournament. I mean, they've got 2 wins, 8 championships in the last 30 years. But Emmett Jones, he's back. He was an all-tournament team as a sophomore, I believe, and he's back. He's a good player. They can bang inside. They got a big win over East Carter last night in overtime. They're a team that I think is getting better game by game, and I think they're a team that could pull out a first-round win here against Van Buren. But I'm kind of like, maybe you get 1 win. I don't think you get 2, but at the same time, they're a team that can definitely pull off at least 1 win in this tournament, I think.
Yeah, and look, they still run the same type of offense. They love to run those double cutters. The first one goes in, and he's going to try to drag it defense with him. Then the second one comes in. They're trying to get deep into the paint with a pass and get a layup off of that. And they still run that well because Emmett Jones ran that same deal last year with that. He understands that. The Haygood kid, Corey Haygood, he will get in there and do that as well. He can shoot it. I thought last year as a sophomore he needed to step up some more and shoot the ball. He's shooting it this year very well. Look, this team could not shoot the ball from deep last year at all. I mean, outside the arc, they were awful. This year, though, kind of watching some film on them, hey, you're going to have to get out and guard that perimeter against this team. They have picked up their outside of shooting. Gives them a little bit more of a threat when you try to play them zone, maybe to get rid of those cutters in the middle.
Yeah, and it opens up some things for Emmett Jones even more. I think he was basically their offense last year. Let's be honest, and if you can give him some opportunities because they shoot the 3 ball a little better, that will make Doniphan that much better. And that'll be an interesting matchup. That Van Buren Doniphan game, I think, will be a good one. So we go on to our number 11 seed, and that will be the host Bloomfield Wildcats, coached by Ben Sindel in the Stoddard County Conference. They are 4-2 right now on the season, and with wins, the biggest win probably over Chaffee, I would say, just recently, and that probably moved them up a little bit in the rankings, I would guess.
Hard team to read right here. Their hometown fan of A-Corp, Josh I, has been high on this team, and I kind of jazzed him about that. I said, man, I don't know, Josh, but I'm going to tell you, they're a team coached by Ben Sindel. And Ben Sindel is the best young coach in the area, in my opinion. He just finds ways to get them to play. Look, they lost their most aggressive scorer last year in Dowdy, and they're already getting close to some wins or winning big games this year. And remember, this team is ahead of the task last year. They were a mess last year coming in. They could barely score at the Bernie tournament, it seemed like. And then, lo and behold, they finished pretty well at this tournament. They're already ahead of that task this year, I believe. Remember, they have finished higher than their seed, I think, the last 2 years in a row that I know of. I think, again, watch out. Bloomfield may be a team that seeds higher than what their seed is, and they're sitting here at, an 11 seed right now? They could sneak into the top 10 or maybe more.
Yeah, I agree. I'm glad you said that about Coach Sindel because I think he's done a fantastic job with them. Just the way they play, the style that they play fits them perfectly. They're a tough team. They really get after you defensively, and they're going to try to control the pace of the game, and that kind of frustrates some teams. And I think it's just they've got some good guard play. I don't know how they're going to match up against teams that are a lot bigger than they are, but I tell you what, they're not going to be outplayed. They're going to play hard, and it would not shock me to see them give Risco some problems in this first round game. And like you said, it wouldn't shock me for them to finish higher than their seed.
Well, I am a little surprised by their seeding overall. I was expecting them to be around 13, but for them to be 11, it's good for Bloomfield. Like you said, to play Risco in this first round, it's a winnable game if possible, but. Ben Sindel, like you said, young coach, very good coach, especially if he gets another couple of years under his belt. He's really going to change kind of the mindset, I feel, for Bloomfield because they've been kind of hurting down for a little while. So if they can switch that up, I think they're going to be a contender.
Yeah, and I think that win over Chaffee last night was a big part of that seeding going up to 11 because Chaffee's not a bad basketball team. We saw them in the Oran Invitational here in A-Corp, and they're not a bad team. So and you guys have all said it. Coach Sindel will have his kids playing really, really hard, good, solid defense. So, I'm glad to see them at the number 11.
So moving on, let's talk about our number 12 seed, relative newcomer, relative returner, back to the BCT. We've got the East Carter Redbirds.
Yeah, back in it for the first time since 2009, and they've had some success in this tournament. They won it in '95 and '96. And they only have one senior. They're kind of young. They start 4 juniors. They have a really good junior though in Will Bogus, about 6'5". He's a big-bodied guy, can really battle inside. I think the loss to Donovan really kind of dropped their seed last night. I think a lot of people were kind of higher on them until they lost that game to Donovan. But they're a team that comes in kind of like Van Buren. They don't play a ton of schools around here. You don't really know a ton about them, but I think they're a team that it'll be interesting to see how they match up against this Kennett team, who's big, strong, and physical, and we'll see how they match up against them.
Yeah, this was a team last year I watched here at the Clarkton Holiday Tournament. They couldn't score. I mean, they struggled with the basketball. Not the case this year. I think backs down low. And look, Caden Price, he's the guy you've really got to get out and guard. He can shoot it inside, outside. He's going to handle the ball a lot, score a lot for him. He can hurt you. The thing I thought, that this team has size down low, but I don't think their footwork is quite as good and smooth as maybe some other teams. I think you want to attack them down low and get the big boys in foul trouble. They've got a guy that comes off the bench, too. He's about the size of Backus. But if you can attack those boys and get them in foul trouble, trouble is coming for this East Carter team. If you don't, they're going to sit inside that deal and rule the roost down low, because those big bodies are just going to control the boards, and Backus will. I mean, he's a big kid, junior heavy class. So next year for this tournament too, that's a team to watch. I just don't know. That loss last night to Donovan kind of changed my mind. I had East Carter seated for myself higher, but that loss, boy, it gives you some doubt right there.
It does.
Yeah, and I think another kid to watch for East Carter is the Stahl kid. I think he can score and will contribute some things. But I agree with you. The loss to Donovan last night sort of dropped them in my mind a little bit too. I thought they would probably be a 6 or 7 seed, and instead they're now the 12. So, but I think that matchup with Kennett will be an interesting one for them as well. So can they control the ball inside? We'll talk about that a little more, of course, but I think that'll be a good matchup for them.
Well, I think the difference is too that you're coming into this tournament kind of as a relative unknown, especially with the teams you've been playing. But with the Clarkson tournament coming up, we're going to get to see them in action more against teams that are going to be in the tournament now. So, I wouldn't sleep on them just because they're so low seeded.
Our 13 seed is the Portageville Bulldogs, coached by T.J. Smith out of the Boot Hill Conference. They are 1-2 on the season, or 1-3, on the season, with losses to Hayti, Zenith, Hornersville, and Crothersville. The only win over Gideon, and lost pretty much everybody from last year, and that's really is what sort of has put them in this number 13 seed.
Yeah, lost everybody from last year. And, when your points are all gone, who do you turn to? But it's got to be Xavier Bogan. He's a kid who's going to handle the ball. He's going to drive to the lane. He's going to score. Higginbottom's probably the next kid in there. But look, this team likes size and they like experience. And those are 2 key things you've got to have in this tournament. I think teams are going to want to trap them outside. I think trap Bogan, who's the next guy who can handle that basketball. I'm not sure of that, and I don't know that they're sure of that. Traps are key against Portageville, and that's the easiest way to get them bounced, I think, in this tournament.
Yeah, ball handling is for sure their Achilles heel here. And Zay Bogan, he does a nice job. He can get to the rim, but he's only 5'7". I mean, he's just not very big, and that's a detriment to them. I mean, it's a tough ask for Portageville this year. Like you said, they're just so young. They lost everything from last year. They're kind of depending on a lot of talent or a lot of younger talent like Evan Windsor. But I don't know how much I don't know how much they're going to be able to win in this tournament, just because of the lack of experience and just they're just not a typical Portageville team you normally see.
Yeah, I think that's the kind of the most disappointing aspect about it is that this team has dropped 6 seeds from last year, and I think we're usually expecting Portageville to be a pretty consistent team. So for them to lose that much and to come in kind of so low on themselves, I don't know where we're going to see them end up in this tournament. But taking on Bernie, that's going to be a tough ask.
Yeah, we're going to see him, of course, next week in the Clarkton Invitational Holiday Tournament here on A-Corp, and that will maybe give us a little more idea of what we'll see there. But I agree with what you guys are saying. It's going to be I'm afraid, a tough tournament this year for Portageville.
So to move on to our number 14 seed, and this is another story of how the mighty have fallen. The Malden Green Wave is coming in at number 14, dropped from, what was it, last year, number 4 seed?
Yeah, the defending
And the champions,
champs.
yeah.
Defending champs, and now they're the 14 seed, but they lost a lot from last year's team. And then, of course, before the season, they had some other players that are not with the team anymore. So, I mean, it's a very, very young team from Malden, and you know, they've grown a little bit. They really played Campbell close last night, and kind of fought with them. They're a team that plays hard. It's just they're just young, very inexperienced, and so we'll see how they react to the Bloomfield Christmas Tournament this year as a very, very young team.
Yeah, young, and their best player in my mind is Zion Bell. He's a sophomore. I think the experience he had last year as a freshman has made him a tremendous impact player for them this year. I think you got to play him zone. You got to play him zone. You're going to push that ball away from the rim. Don't let Bell get it in his hands very much. Make them find a shooter outside or somebody who can pass it well enough to get it inside to Bell. Zone's going to be a nightmare for Malden. But Bell's going to have to control the boards, and he can. He's a big kid. If he can control the boards, I think it gives them a chance. But they got to have some kids who can step up and handle the basketball and help this team succeed besides Bell.
Yeah, it's got to be somebody besides just Bell. I mean, Zion is a really good player. There's no question about that, and has the potential to be really, really good as he gets older. But they got to find somebody else. Now, Coach Kilgore does a great job down there, and he'll make them better as the season goes along. But at this point in the season, I just don't see them being a real probably contender in the tournament this year. But that's one of the things that does make this Bloomfield Christmas Tournament so interesting is your champions from last year are the 14 seed this year. I mean, what a opportunity for these other teams to then come in and do well.
It's definitely a mix-up. And you want to talk about parity. How many times have we said about, especially these lower seeds, this is a young team? I feel like that's what a lot of these teams are going to be contending with. And, you know, if we move to the consolation bracket, can't make any assumptions about how this game's going to go. But if you do, and a lot of these young teams find themselves there, what do those matchups start to look like?
Right, exactly right. So our number 15 seed is the Holcomb Hornets, coached by John Hickson out of the Tri-County Conference. They're 1-3 on the season with losses to, actually 1-4 on the season with losses to Risco, Twin Rivers, Zenith Harnsville, and Southland. Their only win against Clarkton. And they were the number 14 seed last year, out on day 2 last year. And, you know, they've honestly struggled the last few years. They were tournament champions in 2012, Bobby, but they've struggled the last few years.
Yeah, and this Holcomb team, they don't return a whole lot last year. They lack experience, size, ball handlers. I think the key word for Holcomb this tournament is just compete. Come out every game and compete, and let's get better. I can tell you that it'll be a tough tournament when you come in and you play a 2 seed right off the bat. That's not going to be a very fun game for Holcomb. But if they can compete, hey, rounds 2, rounds 3, let's see if we can survive.
Yeah, you talk about young teams. They start 3 sophomores. Their best player brought back from last year isn't playing. He was injured, McNabb, and that's a big loss. So I mean, it's a tough ask for Holcomb right now. It's just, you know, just a young team. You just hope, like you said, just try to compete and battle and see if you can maybe get to the third game. You know, maybe somehow get to that third night.
Yeah, I think the general kind of statement for Holcomb right now is what can we improve on? You know, take a win against Clarkton, take everything that you got going into that game, and even learn from your losses. But, you know, this tournament, it's early enough in the year that you can take every loss that you have or every win, even better, and just take that forward and learn from it.
Yeah, and I think the one player that sort of stood out to me a little bit as I watched the video on him was Noah Kenner. I think he's a nice player for them. I think, you know, he'll have to have a good tournament for them to be able to get a win out of this probably.
So to move on to our 16th seed, the Gideon Bulldogs, pretty much the perennial 16th seed for the Bloomfield Christmas Tournament, which is kind of surprising. We talked about it before the show. We were expecting them to actually be higher, around 15, maybe 14.
Yeah, they haven't won a game this year, so I'm sure that hurt them. They've already lost to East Prairie, Portageville, Bloomfield, and Richland. It's in the Bloomfield Christmas Tournament, so I'm sure that didn't help them. You know, they got back in the tournament in 2016, and the only time they've won a game since then in the tournament was 2019 when they won the consolation bracket. Every other year they've been 0-2 in the tournament, and they go home. And it's tough for them to get the 16 seed here because you're immediately going up against that top seed. So, you know, it's tough. They've got some size with Drake Montgomery and a little guard out there and Braden Knapp. But, you know, I just don't know, again, they haven't won a game yet. They're kind of struggling to start this season. So we'll kind of see how they match up, you know, but you wouldn't expect that they would, Puxico would have much problems with Gideon.
72 points against the 2 seed. I tell you, I think they've got a chance to surprise some people in this tournament. In my eyes, they're not the 16 seed. Luke Weaver down low, he's got great size. He scores around the rim. Montgomery is another kid who can score with size. Plunkett out top, handling the basketball. This is the best team Gideon has had in this tournament in a while. I think Gideon finishes better than the 16.
Yeah, I agree that they were this is a better team than they've had, and I had the name I had down was Plunkett. I agree. I think he is a nice little player. They're not gonna go 0 for the season. I promise you, they're gonna win some games. Now, can they win a game here in the tournament? Don't know, because they've got, when you're the 16th seed, puts you in a tough spot against some awful good teams. But they are much improved over last year, because last year, quite honestly, they weren't very good. But this year, they're a better basketball team this year.
You know, the thing I thought they're hurting the most against East Prairie, they couldn't shoot free throws. But you got to shoot free throws to be able to win games complete. If they can shoot that better, I'm telling you, they're going to come out of this tournament with a win.
Not to discredit that point, though, Bobby, like if that was Gideon's best game of the season, though, and they could put 72 on East Prairie, good for them. But we talked about Bernie and Risco, too. If that was Bernie's best game of the season, what's that mean for the rest of the year?
Good point.
Sure, good point. Good point. So that is our seeds, I think. Andrew, you want to go through the final 8?
Yeah, starting from number 9, we had number 9 Twin Rivers, number 10 Doniphan, number 11 Bloomfield, 12 East Carter, 13 Portageville, 14 Malden, 15 Hawcom, and number 16 Gideon.
All right, so we're going to take about a 2-minute break here, and then we're going to come back and we're going to analyze these first-round matchups a little bit, and maybe some potential matchups even, depending on the seeds, of course, in the second round as well. You're watching the Bloomfield Christmas Tournament Seeding Show here on A-Corp Sports.
Life can be a little hectic when you're always in motion. Don't you wish you had a bank that could keep up? First State Community Bank's digital banking is the perfect companion for your fast-paced everyday life. Whether you're looking to review your full financial picture or just wanted a quick glance at your balance, First State Community Bank keeps you connected to your finances, all while juggling your daily activities. Download the app today and bank in motion with First State Community Bank's digital banking.
At Young Real Estate, we understand the importance of face-to-face interactions. Our experienced agents are here to listen to your needs and personalize your home buying or selling experience. But we also recognize the power of technology. Young Real Estate offers virtual showings, allowing you to explore properties from the comfort of your own home. Young Real Estate, where technology meets a personal touch. Your dreams, our expertise. Contact us today and let's make your dream home a reality.
My name is Kevin Rossville. I'm a farmer from Prairie County, Arkansas. Been farming since 1991. Started farming with my father-in-law when I got married. We've been raising rice ever since. We've all been looking for something for a change for years. And I think this 263L is going to be the next and up-and-coming thing for us. It's really going to work well on a lot of different ground and a lot of different farms around here.
Dynagro 263L, available exclusively at Nutrient Ag Solutions.
We do things the right way, we do it honestly, and we do it well. We go to trial with confidence that in Southeast Missouri, when we work hard and we do a good job of presenting the case to the jury like we know we can do, justice will be done and the client will be taken care of. If you need someone to represent you at trial, call Cook Barquette, Ponder & Walls.
Welcome back to the Bloomfield Christmas Tournament Seeding Show here on A-Corp Sports. Andrew Moore, David Jenkins, Bobby Alford, and Jim Riker here. And Now we have the seeds, guys. Let's talk about maybe a game in that first round in particular. We really think could be a good matchup.
Let's go with the 5-12. I like Kennett, East Carter. I'm taking East Carter in this one because their size down low, what they can do, price outside. Kennett does not have an answer for him down low. I'm picking East Carter moving on.
I'm going with you there, Bobby.
I'm going against you guys. I think Kennett with Dyson Watson, East Carter has no answer for Dyson Watson. And again, Kennett's going to keep coming at you. I think it'll be a close game, but I think Kennett's just going to have too much, and they're too experienced against some much better teams than what East Carter's played. I think Kennett pulls that one out.
Yeah, I'm with you on that as well. And I'm fascinated sort of with the Risco-Bloomfield matchup. I think Risco will win that, but it's going to be such a game of tempo. I mean, if Bloomfield somehow can slow the tempo down on Risco, they can make that at least a close game, I think.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. That was a game I was looking at that would be tough for Risco. I'm like you. I think Risco pulls it out, but I think it's going to be a tough game because just the difference in styles and Bloomfield playing on their home court, that's going to help them as well.
Absolutely.
Typically, I'd be looking at Richland, Twin Rivers just because of how close the seeds are, but I'm actually looking forward to Van Buren and Donovan. I think both teams that are running into like a kind of a relatively unknown situation, I just want to see how they're going to stack up with each other at this point.
And I'm looking at that Richland Twin Rivers. I think Twin Rivers may pull that upset against Richland. Richland's just not playing very well right now. Seems like Twin Rivers is getting better each and every night. I think that's going to be a really tough matchup for Richland. And if they don't fix what's going on offensively, I think Twin Rivers can get them.
Well, here's where I see that game. I'm going Richland. This is the same matchup they had last year, matter of fact. They just flip-flopped in this matchup. I'm going to go Richland because I think Twin Rivers tries to play them zone, and I think Richland will shoot them out of that zone, but they shoot them out of it. It's too late for Twin Rivers to recover. You cannot play Richland in a zone. You just cannot do it. Man, they got kids who can fire on you all night out there. And that's when they're going to get their easiest and best looks in a high-low offense to get it inside the score, too, there. I don't think that can happen right there. I think there's too much for Twin Rivers to overcome in that game.
I think for Richland, too, I think all the things that they've been plagued by in this early season, they're starting to rectify. You could see that they got revenge against Bell City, so obviously they didn't let that bother them too much, losing to them in the Orion tournament. So I'm going to say Richland probably wins this game, too.
So let's, if the seeds hold, let's move on to the second round. And I think that the matchup that all of our eyes lit up with when we saw it was Dexter-Risco. I mean, what a classic matchup. The biggest school in the tournament versus one of the smallest schools.
Yeah, they say the teams have never played before, and two different styles. Risco likes to get up and down the floor. Dexter likes to slow it up, control the pace. And Dexter in that 1-2-2, Risco may shoot him out of that real quick. I think Dexter's going to have to play man in that game. And fortunately for Dexter, they've been doing some man this year, but at the same time, that's going to be a tough matchup for Dexter.
Yeah, I don't like this matchup for Dexter at all because Risco can shoot it well from outside. They also have size down low inside. So if you're going to stick in the zone, they shoot you out of the zone, then you go man-to-man. They're just a lot bigger than Dexter. All the way around the board, they've got Calvert, they've got Fortner, they've got Gotze down low. They've got more weapons down low, plus their outside players. And they can get out there and play zone, or they can press the ball. They can get steals. They got their transition team. This is a trap game for Dexter. I'm telling you, this is a bad matchup for the Bearcats round 2.
And I hear what you're all saying about your fancy statistics and like key players, things like that. But you got to think about the narratives. Dexter is always going to be the bad guy in this tournament. So for Risco to come in, small town, everybody loves him. As far as the matchup goes, I kind of want to see Risco win that.
Oh, I think you're right. Dexter's always the villain in this tournament because they're the biggest school. And Risco, let's just be honest, forgetting who's the good guy and who's the bad guy, Risco's a good basketball team, a really good basketball team, and they'll give Dexter all they want in that one, I think. The other one that if the seeds would hold, Bernie and Kennett, I think that's an intriguing matchup as well, just with the size, the maturity maybe of Kennett, the youth of Bernie. What do you think on that one?
I've said I've liked Kennett. I like Dyson Watson. He's a tough one to match up against. But at the same time, Bernie, I think Bernie's a tough matchup if Kennett makes it there because Bernie is going to control the pace. They're going to try to spread them out a little bit. They're going to try to limit how much Dyson Watson touches the ball, I would assume. And so I think that's a tough matchup for. I think that's a good game. I think either one of those teams, I wouldn't be surprised, would win that. And I think that's a game that we should be. If it happens, we should circle it, and that's one we should definitely watch.
I just think Kennett can play that game with much more up tempo than Bernie would be expecting them to.
It'll have to be off the press. They're going to have to make Bernie turn the basketball over. I'll tell you, I've got Bernie. John Aycock down low, the way he rebounds the basketball, again, Kennett doesn't have an answer for that. They don't have the size that they do. Now, if Aycock gets in trouble, that's a different deal. Coming in and, you don't have the length and the size. I think Bernie can match them on three-point shooting, so, you can nullify that in the scorebooks. They've just got to play defense well enough to keep Kennett from doing that. And I don't know that Kennett's going to be able to range out far enough because you're going to have to pull him in tighter to protect the inside. Can you get out and defend that ball on the perimeter? I don't know that Kennett can do that.
Well, I guess another consideration is, small school, big school. What about bench depth at that point?
Good point.
Yeah, it is a good point. But we saw, Kennett only played about 7 kids or something at the SEMO conference tournament, so they don't go real deep. And Bernie will play, 6 or 7. So, but you're right. That certainly could be a point.
Yeah, physicality could match up there too. Kennett's again matching up against the SEMO conference schools. They're a little bit more physical in that matchup, depending on how the game's called. If they allow a physical game, then that would definitely benefit Kennett.
And look, Dyson is a kid. He can get past people. If you play him man to man, he'll get past people. He's going to get in that paint and cause troubles for Aycock there to get him in foul trouble.
Right.
Dyson is going to be key if that matchup holds. He's the key to getting to that game. I mean, they can move on if Dyson Watson can get in there and create trouble for him.
So I know this is quick, but that's why you guys are analysts. Who's your sleeper team as you see these matchups now? I mean, who is sort of your sleeper team, and who do you think we might see on that at least that last day or the next to last day in the semifinals that you wouldn't think of otherwise?
I'm still looking at East Carter. I mean, if they can get by Kennett, and I think they can with their size, they match up against Bernie. Teams is kind of similar. They got size. They got shooters. If they can get past that, you could see a 12-team East Carter first year back in this tournament, all of a sudden in the Final Four.
All right, David?
I pretty much have chalk in my Final Four. I've got Puxico, Bernie, and Dexter and East Prairie. I'm not expecting any of these other teams. I think Risco, again, that matchup with Dexter is going to be intriguing. I think Dexter pulls that out just with their physicality. And I think Bernie, knocks off Kennett. So I'm really kind of just expecting chalk in those semifinals.
See, I don't disagree with your points at all. I'm kind of debating between East Prairie and Van Buren right now. East Prairie is, second seed, so you kind of assume that they would go to the Final Four. At the same time, I think East Prairie's biggest problem is they don't believe in themselves a lot. I feel like they're very surprised by their own success, and I feel like it's not the worst thing in the world, but sometimes you got to believe in your own hype and believe in your own skill set. But I feel like Van Buren, being a sleeper team as they are, they could easily knock them off in a surprise upset.
Hey, what does Lee Corso say? Not so fast, my friend. I'm telling you, East Prairie is going to beat Van Buren. Van Buren, my notes against them, they didn't block out well. Who does East Prairie have down low? Maybe the most intriguing best player in this tournament to watch, and Noah Johnson. He will absolutely kill them down low, and he runs the floor well. He's going to get run-out passes. He's going to get rebounds. He's going to get blocks. I don't know that East Prairie can defend that in round 2. If that comes to be, I got East Prairie in that game.
Well, I feel like they're going to play East Prairie knowing that now, though.
They'll have to. And hey, Coach Black is a good player, and those kids are listening to this now, and they're going to take that personal. I guarantee between now and this tournament, they work on blocking out.
Oh, I bet so. Yeah, absolutely.
Right. Absolutely right. All right, so the big question then is, who you got as a champion?
I think the deepest team in this Puxico. I mean, they've got bench players. They shoot it inside. They shoot it outside. They can press. They can play man. But hey, the pressure's on Coach Fernetti. Don't forget, he lost to a Campbell team he should have, or not Campbell, a South Pim team he should have beat last year. I thought they lacked ball control in that game, and I thought he stayed in a man-to-man when he should have went zone against a team who couldn't shoot outside. He's got to coach them to a victory this year. He's got the players to do it and the most complete team to do it, but he's going to have to do it himself and get them there.
No, I agree. Puxico is pretty much the easiest pick, but at the same time, if they get upset, I'm not even going to be surprised at this point, just because we saw it happen last year. And, I don't know if there's a team of Malden's caliber that can do that, but it's possible.
I'm looking at East Prairie. I mean, I agree with everything you guys have said about Puxico. They are a very good team. But East Prairie was in the championship game last year. They took Malden down to the wire. A lot of that team returns this year. We've seen it a lot in the past where the team who finished second the year before that returns a lot. They know how to get there. They know how to win. And I'm looking at East Prairie to win this tournament for the first time ever.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think East Prairie, I think with their senior leadership and their Noah Johnson down low, I think they've got a chance for that. And I'm going to go out on a limb and say in the Consolation Championship, you're going to see Twin Rivers and Bloomfield in that, coming from the opposite sides. And Twin Rivers will win that, but Bloomfield will give them a heck of a game in that as well.
I'll tell you, the one thing I think, Puxico and East Prairie, let's say the one plays the two for the championship, who's East Prairie's best bench player? And I don't have that
probably
either.
Tavion Ware.
Yeah,
right?
Tavion Ware.
And I don't have that either, but I can tell you, you look at a team like Puxico, you can pull out a Jared Powell or something like that.
True.
You can find a bench player. I think the depth of Puxico goes a lot deeper than what East Prairie has to offer. That's the reason I have to pick that team. They can stay fresher longer. They can dictate how they want to play a defense or a game right there more so than East Prairie can.
I just don't think this tournament is as solidified as the SEMO conference was. We all kind of knew Sykeston was going to win that game.
Right.
I feel like Puxico's entering in this tournament with the same kind of swagger. I just don't think they, live that truth yet.
Oh, I agree. I mean, there's so many different things that could happen in this tournament. I mean, Puxico could get knocked off in the quarterfinals. You never know. I mean, this and East Prairie could lose in the quarterfinal. I mean, any of these teams, I think, could get upset, and it wouldn't shock any of us.
Right.
And I'm not saying it's going to happen, but guys, don't sleep on Gideon. I mean, they're the 16th seed playing the 1 seed, but if they play well, Gideon could sneak up right here. I mean, I'm telling you, they've got size down low who will match up with Zimmerman, but they're definitely going to have to get out and guard right there. But they played an East Prairie team well, and that's a number 2 seed. I'm just not going to sleep on Gideon all the way right there.
I'm not going to say this tournament might not end up being formulaic. I'm just saying if I told you last year Bell City would beat Richland for the Orion tournament, would any of you believe me?
Right,
No.
exactly
No.
right.
Yeah, you're right.
And I think that's a good point because that's where we're at sort of in Southeast Missouri basketball this year. Lots of parity. We saw it in the SEMO conference tournament, except for Sykeston, ton of parity between 2 and 9. I think we got that same kind of thing here. If ever a team that is lower than a 6 seed is going to win it, this may be the year that they do.
Could win.
I think so.
I think this is the tournament for close games and getting experimental.
Well, I agree. And that's the beauty of this tournament. It'll start on the 26th with Puxico and Gideon at 10 a.m. Then the Richland Rebels will take on Twin Rivers 11:15. Bernie and Portageville at 12:45. And then the Kennett Indians and East Carter at 2:15. East Prairie and Holcomb at 3:45. Van Buren, Doniphan at 5. Dexter and Malden at 6:30. And the final game of the night will be the Risco Tigers and the Bloomfield Wildcats at 8 p.m. Then we'll go on day 2 with the 8 games. 6 games on day 3, and then on December the 30th, the 4 championship games on day 4. So, guys, before we turn it back over to Joe Northern, any final thoughts?
I think it's just going to be a fantastic tournament. I mean, you just look at these matchups. You got some great matchups all the way throughout, and not only in the winners bracket, but like you said, I think a lot in the consolation bracket as well. I think it's going to be a great tournament.
Yeah, I'm just ready to be surprised again.
Yeah, Bobby?
I tell you, I can't wait to get back to booth number 1, but it's going to be a fun tournament. I mean, you've got a lot of stuff. Round 2, we could see Puxico and Richland again. Same thing as last year, round 2.
Right.
How fun was that game?
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, there were some points put up, fast-paced. There's just a lot of repeats in this tournament, but a lot of things could happen. But a lot of teams, you look at this bracket that could win it. And look, we still have another week of basketball. Before we get to this, how much does this bracket change again in our mind after another week of basketball?
Well, which is a great point. Just the fact that your number 3 seed plays your number 8 seed on Monday night over at Richland. And it would not surprise me if Richland beats Dexter that night. So, I mean, really, if you'd seeded this maybe Thursday, it might have been totally different seeding than it is today.
No doubt.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the teams we're about to see in the Clarkton Holiday Tournament, which we start that Tuesday night down there, you get to see a Portersville team and a Doniphan team, I believe, and
Risco,
East Carter.
Right.
How does that change viewers' minds after today?
Exactly right. So, all right, well, folks, we appreciate you joining us. We're going to take a 30-second break, and then Joe Northern will wrap us up, and we will see you in Clarkton on Tuesday night, and then on the 26th at Bloomfield for the Bloomfield Christmas Tournament, the 68th annual Bloomfield Christmas Tournament. Thanks for joining us. Hang on for Joe Northern.
Life can be a little hectic when you're always in motion. Don't you wish you had a bank that could keep up? First State Community Bank's digital banking is the perfect companion for your fast-paced everyday life. Whether you're looking to review your full financial picture or just wanted a quick glance at your balance, First State Community Bank keeps you connected to your finances, all while juggling your daily activities. Download the app today and bank in motion with First State Community Bank's digital banking.
So that's it. The field of 16 has officially been announced. The brackets are starting to be filled with predictions and guesses. No matter where you are across the state and really across the country, all that's left to do is now play the games. And as a reminder, we'll go on the air just before 10 a.m. on Thursday and Friday for opening and second round coverage of the tournaments. Then on Saturday, we'll go on the air just before 1 p.m. for third day action. 6 games will be on the slate. And then we'll join you just before 4 p.m. on Championship Monday, December 30th, right here on A-Corp Sports. Yes, it's a field of 16 that always gives us a lot of excitement and a lot of analysis, which, to tell you the truth, I can't even analyze it all right now because time intervenes. However, I will have my thoughts coming up a little bit later on the A-Corp Sports social media channels. And on Mondays, tune into a special episode of SEMO Sports Zone with Drew and Dave to get their thoughts on the field of 16 and some excitement to come for what has always been a tradition that has continued to go back 68 years and generations long and long ago here in Southeast Missouri. And for us, our 19th year to bring it to you from tip to trophy. Thank you for watching the 2024 Bloomfield Christmas Tournament Seating Show, and we will see you in the arena on the 26th. For all of us here at A-Corp Sports, I'm Joe Northern saying so long for now. We'll see you on the 26th.